How do you feel about point and click games? Are you a fan of those?
Yeah, no.
I'm normally not either. The thing for me, if it's going to be a point and click game, you must have a good story, or I'm not going to keep playing it in my past experiences. This game does have a neat little story, and I like the vibe that it gives off. This is the Journey Down Chapter 3. Hey guys, this is Brax.
And this is Moriarty, and I do remember playing a lot more of these a long time ago, back with the old LucasArts games, like Grim Fandango and Monkey Island, those kind of click and point games. But that was a long time ago.
Monkey Island is the one that I always think of. I think that's kind of the standard setter in this genre. I think everyone knows what Monkey Island is.
Haha, yeah, let's laugh at the one guy who doesn't, who's watching this. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha! Laughing at you, guy. We know who you are, Bolt.
So this is a point and click. Do you combine items? Do you have to do puzzles? Do you have to do findy things and like that kind of stuff?
You got it, bud. That's exactly what you do. The thing about it, it's not doing anything special. Like you said, most of the time you have to walk up to stuff, click on it, of course, and then you get a little dialogue from your Afro-Caribbean friend here who might say, "That isn't gonna work, man." And then it gives you cues like that to let you know what's going to work, what isn't. A lot of the times it's a matter of looking in your inventory and dragging an item on top of another item to make those two things work together. A lot of walking back and forth between different screens. So it's not doing anything revolutionary here, but because this is Chapter 3, this game has a little cult following, and it's not because of the gameplay, it's because of the story and the narrative that it tells, and a lot of people are really into it. I'll admit, I thought the story was pretty neat, and I got into it. The characters are something you can invest in. It's really charming because of the way they speak, and the dialogue and the conversations that they have are pretty funny sometimes. I also enjoyed the aspects of the story that deal sort of with like archaeology and history, because of course that's the sort of stuff that I get into in my free time or my professional life. So a lot of that was intriguing as well. The story basically revolves around this guy that has these dreadlocks here and the really large forehead. He looks like he's balding. Is he balding? I don't know. But I don't even know if they're people. I think they're like some sort of ancient race of something or another. Like some of that stuff doesn't make sense to me because I don't know as much about the backstory, but as you piece it together and you read through the stuff that you find in the newspapers, everything starts to make more sense.
As it should in this style of game. The more you do, the more you understand. I get it. Makes sense. How'd you feel about the music? It seems like it's very jazzy, kind of reggae-ish.
Yeah, the music is one of those things that I was referencing earlier about the charm that it gives off. The whole theme of the game fits together well. The voice actors that they hired go well with the music that they use, and the music goes well with some of the environments at the beginning of the game. It gets more city-based as it goes on, but they keep up that whole Afro-Caribbean vibe throughout the game, and that's one thing that I liked about it, because you can tell they put a lot of thought into how they were going to make sure that everything stays the same throughout. There's some continuity here. This was actually put together by a team of 3 guys, so in that regards it's pretty impressive.
Now, do you think they would say that it's Caribbean or Caribbean? I think it's Caribbean because I think that's the right way to say it, and it sounds really weird to me when you're saying Caribbean.
Well, you know, that's something that I have argued with myself about in my head many times. Sometimes I say Caribbean. Like for me, it's Pirates of the Caribbean, but I eat Caribbean food. I don't know why. It's just I say it different depending on the context.
Well, that doesn't make any sense at all. This is clearly Caribbean.
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 But I thought you said you pronounced it Caribbean.
I
Now
do.
you're arguing with yourself.
The important thing is that everybody is confused about what we really believe.
Right? I mean, I know that historically people referred to it as the Carib, so that would be Caribbean, not Caribbean. I don't
See?
know.
There you go. You're already agreeing with me.
No, because you changed your stance midway through.
So, what was your favorite click and point or point and click or clickety pointedy type of game? The adventure style games. You said Monkey Island, but you kind of came into PC gaming fairly recently, so do you have a lot of experience with them?
I did review one about a year ago. Maybe it hasn't even been a year. A developer sent me a copy of his game. I think it was called Bayou Island, and it was very just like every other point and click that I've ever seen played, and this is one that's just like that. They all seem the same. Every experience that I have with point and click games seem the same. I just like Monkey Island because I know all of those scenes on the boats with the guy singing. Like, I love that stuff.
I get it. Yeah, there is definitely a lot of similarity in a lot of these style of games. My favorite, personally, is Grim Fandango, and that's because of, as you said at the beginning, it's the story, and I really do think that the story is the reason why you come to these games, because there's not a whole lot that you're going to get out of watching a character walking back and forth on a painted background. That's just not the reason why you come to this. The reason you come to them is because the story and the depth of story that you can have there is so much greater than a lot of different kinds of games. When you come to a point-and-click adventure game, the whole idea behind it was that you could have, for the first time, big worlds and hundreds of dialogue and lots of characters, and, you know, it was easy to do in that sort of Disney animation way where they only really had to change a few things here and there because it was all on that painted background.
Totally agree, and that's why it's so important in the point-and-click games that I've played that the story has to be good, because if it's not, I click through the dialogue. I don't even read what they're saying, right? Because all I'm trying to do is get to the next part of the game. The game has to have a good story, or I'm just going to rush through it, and I'm not really going to invest in it. At points in this game, I did click through the dialogue, and that isn't necessarily a good sign. But this is chapter 3, and this is the finale of the story they're telling, so maybe this would not be good for you to pick up if you didn't play the first 2. I'll say that. You need to understand chapters 1 and 2 before. It would be like watching episode 3 of Star Wars without watching 1 or 2, or watching episode 6 without watching 4 or 5, you know?
Yeah, that's a lot better, because I feel like you should skip episode 1 and 2 of Star Wars and just go to episode 3, and even then I think you could probably skip 3 and just go straight to 4, because the first 3 are really, 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 really bad, whereas at least number 3 is kind of alright-ish. But really what I think you should do is just go straight to Rogue One and then go to 4, 5, 6, 7.
What?
That's the best way to do it.
No.
And completely cut out the first 3 movies. That's obviously the way you're supposed to watch these. Lucas clearly did these movies in this way so that he could sort out the right viewers from the wrong viewers, and everybody who says that they should watch the first 3, those are the ones that we eventually feed to our alien overlords.
No. What people are guilty of is what you're doing right now. Just because 4, 5, and 6 may be better to some people, that doesn't mean that the first 3 are trash. There's never been a Star Wars movie that is absolute trash. Episode 7 is the worst one, and it's still not a bad film. So when people say, the first 3 are bad, no, they're not bad. They're bad comparatively. So don't say that they're bad films, because none of the Star Wars films are actually bad. And Rogue One is like meh, and you say that's the best one? No.
No, that's the one you start with. But I can go, right now, I will sum up the first 3 films for you. Woo, this is pod racing. I hate sand. I have the high ground. There you go. You have taken all of the good parts, and they're not even good parts, they're just memorable parts because of how bad they are from the first 3 films.
You didn't even mention Gungans. Like, no.
They're not
important. You have to mention Gungans.
You
also have to mention Gungan.
No. So, the journey down, you think that somebody should play the entire story, definitely not start with the 3rd one. The nice thing is that chapter 1 is less expensive. It is a $9 purchase to get into the first chapter, but chapters 2 and 3 are $20. Do you think that that is worth it? I think when you're looking at this, it's probably better to buy the first one, right, at that $9 price, and then if you like it, just buy both of the other 2 in the trilogy bundle and save yourself some money, because it's only $40 instead of $50. But knowing that you've played this and you've got a little bit more experience than the person who's considering playing it, do you think that this is realistically worth $40?
No, I think they would be much better off. The entire trilogy, in my opinion, should be $20. Like, you should pay $20 and get chapters 1, 2, and 3. And maybe chapter 1 could still be $10 or $9.99, whatever they're charging for it. You can leave that the way it is, that's fine. That way people can pay half of what they would for the whole trilogy to see if they like it. But I think a 3-chapter set should be around the $20 range, not $40, certainly not $50.
Fair enough. I think this is definitely one of those things where it's, if you're into this style of game, you can pick up that first chapter. It's $8.99, so it's not a huge, horrible thing. But you're talking about what is, from all accounts, a 3-hour title.
That's what I was going to bring up. The next point about that, the pricing is, I don't know how long the first 2 games are, but I know this one, you're looking at 3 or 4 hours and you've beaten the entire game. So that doesn't justify $20 to me.
And I think that's totally fair. Just looking at it, it looks like the other chapters are similar length. So you're actually getting a pretty decent amount of time out of the first game, but you're getting less amount of time out of the other games for more money. I'm not sure that I agree with that kind of mentality. I get that really what they want you to do is pay the $9 to try it out, and then if you like it, you'll pay $40 for the whole thing. But I don't know. That just seems a little bit disingenuous to me.
It does to me as well. That's why I said $20 for all 3. Because if you look at it, let's say that each one of these games is 4 hours long, maybe 5 at the outside. But let's say 12 hours for all 3 chapters. Paying $20 for a 12-hour experience, that seems about right to me, based upon how good but not great this game is. So totally $20 for all 3 would be a fair dollar per hour ratio. But if you're looking at $40 to $50 for 12 hours worth of gameplay between all 3 chapters, that's a little pricey.
Especially for what is kind of a dead genre in the adventure game genre. I also can't recommend it at that price. I think that the pricing is a little bit out of whack when we're talking about modern PC gaming prices. Yes, back in the day, you would have paid $40 for an adventure game, but it also would have been brutally difficult. It would have killed you off in ridiculous ways, and you would have spent 50, 60, 100 hours in order to actually be able to beat it. So I can't recommend it either when we're talking about 10 to 12 hours for the same price. Additionally, there are other adventure games that are available on Steam today that are really highly rated, incredibly polished, and they're a hell of a lot cheaper too.
So that's all we have to say about the Journey Down Chapter 3. But if you like it, if you think you might like it, check it out on Steam. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out another one of those videos you see in the corners right now. This has been Brax.
And Moriarty.
And we'll see you guys on the next one.